Let's go Dolphins! What if I told you the Miami Dolphins could walk away from this year's NFL draft with three rising stars who could not only be starters, but completely transform the team? No, this isn't speculation. I'm talking about real names, real performances, and real moves happening right now at the Senior Bowl in Mobile, Alabama. And the buzz? It's getting louder and louder. Dolphins fans, get ready, because what's happening behind the scenes could set the tone for the entire future of this franchise. We're not talking about impossible dreams or risky bets. We're talking about players who are already excelling, attracting attention, and rapidly climbing the draft rankings. And guess what? Miami has 5 picks in the top 90. That's not just draft capital, it's ammunition to reshape the roster toward a Super Bowl run. Now, before revealing all the details about the 3 names the Dolphins are closely monitoring, and the player I believe could become a Pro Bowler in Miami. But first, click the like button right now if you're a true Dolphins fan. If you've been following this team through thick and thin for over 20 years, I want to see your support in the comments too. Shout out, go Dolphins! My heart bleeds aqua and orange. Okay, let's analyze what the Dolphins might be planning, and why the rest of the league should be watching. The Dolphins have a glaring problem on their hands, and it's coming off the edge. Miami's pass rush is, to put it mildly, a massive question mark. With the future of Bradley Chubb uncertain, likely trade or cut candidate, and only Chop Robinson and Derek McClendon standing in the room, this position group is thin. Alarmingly thin. That's why all eyes are now on Clemson's T.J. Parker. Once a projected top 10 pick, Parker slipped after a less than stellar junior season. But in Mobile, he's reignited the buzz. At 6 feet 3 inches, 265 pounds, Parker has been explosive in Senior Bowl practices, showcasing brute power and elite arm length, a reported 34 inches, placing him in the 71st percentile among edge rushers. Analysts like ESPN's Jordan Reed were quick to notice his dominant hand usage and strength in one-on-one drills. In fact, 29.2% of his pass rush wins in 2024 came from his long arm move alone, a terrifying sign for any offensive tackle trying to slow him down. He's not just about finesse. His game screams violence at the line of scrimmage. The Dolphins hold the 43rd overall pick in the second round, right in the neighborhood where Parker is currently projected. But if his stock keeps rising, don't be surprised if Miami trades up into the back half of round 1 or makes a deal to fall back from pick 11 into the 20s, grabbing extra capital and still targeting Parker. This is a player with legitimate upside, one who could redefine Miami's defensive front. And with pass rush being the Achilles heel of last season, it's not just a potential fit, it's a necessity. Now, shifting to another position of need, the offensive line. The name buzzing on Dolphins Twitter lately? Keandre Rutledge, the powerful guard from Georgia Tech. He's 6 feet 4 inches, 320 pounds, and after starting his career at Middle Tennessee, he transferred to the ACC and proved he could handle top-tier competition. While he's primarily been a right guard throughout his college career, this week at the Senior Bowl, he's demonstrated versatility, even snapping the ball in drills and taking reps at all 3 interior positions. That's significant. The Dolphins need depth and durability up front. James Daniels has been battling injuries, and Jonas Savanina's inconsistency has been a problem. Rutledge could step in as insurance, or even as a future replacement for Aaron Brewer, whose contract expires in 2026. He's projected to go anywhere from the 3rd to 5th round, but with Miami holding 3 third-rounders, picks 75, 87, and 90, this could be a match made in draft day heaven. And don't forget, Sullivan and Halfleg come from the Green Bay system. Rutledge is the type of tough, fundamentally sound lineman the Packers would draft. Now, that screams Miami. But hold on, we're not done. Wide receiver isn't the most pressing issue for Miami, but depth is key, especially if injuries hit Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle again. Enter Malachi Fields, the 6 feet 4 inches, 222-pound weapon from Notre Dame. This guy is built like a freight train and runs like a gazelle, a combo that's turning heads. Though he wasn't the most statistically dominant receiver at Notre Dame, his Senior Bowl performance has scouts buzzing. ESPN's Matt Miller singled him out for making the catch of the day, a deep bomb he hauled in over his shoulder, drawing comparisons to Willie Mays. And let's talk about the hands. Scouts were worried about his sub-9-inch hand size. Well, worry no more. Fields was dominant at the catch point in Mobile, dropping nothing. If he runs well at the combine, which insiders say he might, his stock could surge into the late 1st or early 2nd round. Think about that, a massive target with big play ability who could give the Dolphins a legitimate red zone presence they've lacked for years. And with 5 picks in the top 90, Miami is perfectly positioned to grab a wide receiver like Fields without compromising other needs. Let's keep this rolling because I've got more to break down, and you're going to want to hear this. Out of the 3 players rising up the board from the Senior Bowl, one of them stands out to me as a potential draft day steal, the kind of player who doesn't just fill a hole on your roster, but who becomes a foundational piece for the next 5 to 10 years. And that player, in my opinion, is Keandre Rutledge. Here's why. Let's forget the flashy names for a second. Forget the wideouts making circus catches or the edge rushers blowing past tackles. Championships are built in the trenches. If you watched the Dolphins this past season, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Tua Tagovailoa, for all his precision and quick release, still had to deal with pocket collapse at the worst possible times, especially down the stretch. It wasn't just the injuries, it was a lack of reliable interior depth. That's where Rutledge comes in. This is a guy who has quietly climbed the ranks, not because he went viral on a highlight reel, but because when the pads came on and the drills got serious, he proved he could hold his own. And then some. Scouts at the Senior Bowl were waiting to see if he had the versatility to play more than just right guard, and he answered that question with authority. Rutledge took snaps at center. He worked on the left side. He didn't flinch. This is the kind of cross-training that coaches and general managers love to see. If you're going to draft a lineman on day 2, you want someone who can plug and play wherever needed. And let's not ignore the schematic fit. Rutledge's style screams Green Bay Packers. Tough, physical, no-nonsense lineman with clean footwork and a mean streak. That's exactly the kind of lineman John Eric Sullivan and Jeff Hafley were used to scouting. Now that they're in Miami, they're going to look for those same traits. You better believe Rutledge is already on their radar. With 3 third-round picks, the Dolphins don't just have the ammo, they have the perfect window to get him without overreaching. And imagine what it does for this offensive line if Rutledge is solid enough to either push Jonas Avenina for that left guard spot, or step in immediately if James Daniels' injury history flares up again. Now, that doesn't mean Parker and Fields are chopped liver. Far from it. Let's circle back to TJ Parker for a moment because this is where things get real. If Bradley Chubb is moved, and based on his contract and injury situation, it's likely Parker becomes a must-draft player. You cannot go into next season with just Chop Robinson and Derek McClendon on the edge. Parker's game is pure power and length. He doesn't just beat you with speed around the edge. He bullies offensive tackles with his hands and wins by driving them backward. He's not the twitchiest guy in the class, but what he brings is physical dominance. Think about it, 11 sacks in 2024, and nearly 30% of those wins came from one move, the long arm. That's a technique that translates immediately to the NFL. And if Miami decides to trade down from pick 11, let's say to the 20s, they could still grab Parker while collecting more draft capital. That would be a win-win. You solve the edge issue and give yourself flexibility on day 2 to attack more needs, like linebacker, defensive back, or even quarterback depth. Now, Malachi Fields, I love the upside. I really do. But he feels like the biggest swing. He's big. He's fast. He's physical. But the track record at Notre Dame was uneven. You can tell the tools are there, and if he runs a blazing 40 at the combine, he's probably going in the late 1st or early 2nd round. But that's where things get tricky for Miami. With Tyreek and Waddle already eating up targets, do the Dolphins want to spend one of their top picks on a receiver who might be their 3rd or 4th option? Unless they're planning to move Cedric Wilson Jr. or aren't sold on River Cracraft returning, Fields might be more luxury than necessity. Still, I can't lie, the idea of throwing a 50-50 ball to a 6 feet 4 inches receiver with plus speed in the red zone? That's something this team hasn't had in years. It gives Tua a margin for error and brings a new dimension to the offense. Mike McDaniel could get real creative with that kind of weapon. And if Fields slips into the 3rd round, now we're talking. At that value, he's not just a good pick, he's a home run. Let's not forget, the Dolphins have 5 picks in the top 90, 11, 43, 75, 87, and 90. This gives them real flexibility to attack multiple positions. A scenario where they go edge at 11 or 43, grab Rutledge in round 3, and still snag a playmaker like Fields or a developmental quarterback like Cole Payton later on. That's the type of draft that changes the course of your franchise, especially when you're tight on cap space and need starters on rookie contracts. Speaking of quarterbacks, keep your eye on Cole Payton out of North Dakota State. I know it's a long shot, but the lefty's been the most consistent quarterback at the Senior Bowl, and the Dolphins need a long-term plan behind Tua. Not someone to replace him now, but someone to develop in the background. This isn't the year to panic at QB, but it is the year to start planning. Bottom line, this draft could be the tipping point. Miami has the draft capital. They have a new vision in the front office, and they have a coach who's proven he can scheme with the best of them. What they need now: talent, depth, durability, and the kind of